Thanks, everybody. Welcome to Build. I'm your host, Ricky Camilleri. Our next guest has been a staple of family TV since she made her debut as Clarissa on Clarissa Explains It All. And you can now see Melissa Joan Hart in the Netflix sitcom No Good Nick, where she plays a mother whose family is met with an unexpected house guest. Let's take a look.
Remember, we're a team. You're the brain, I'm the heart. Together we make the Thompson body run like clockwork.
Yeah, but why do I always have to be the brain?
What's wrong with being the brain? Being the brain is a compliment.
Well, sometimes I want to be the heart. You know, the heart is the fun job. Everyone loves the heart. Nobody likes the brain because the brain makes you do your homework and empty the dishwasher, while the heart gets to go out for ice cream and take in stray children. I'll get it. It better not be another stray child.
Everybody, please welcome Melissa Joan Hart. I have to say, for the sake of brevity, I said started with Clarissa Explains It All and now is on to this. There's a lot more in between
There's
there.
a few decades in between.
Yeah, there's a lot of work that you've done in between there.
Yeah.
It wasn't just that to this.
It wasn't. But what's funny is that clip that you saw is it shows the show in a light, like a comedy. It looks like it's a sitcom, a traditional family sitcom. But what's funny is like that's maybe the third episode, I think, third episode. But as you kind of get into more and more episodes, you'll see that it's not a traditional sitcom. It's very much a family show. It's as much about the kids and their life at school as it is about us at home or at work. But it's really a unique show because it's a real dramedy, but it's also serialized for binge watching, and it's got this family mystery element to it. So it's really unique for anything I've ever seen on television.
Well, the actress who plays Nick, who is essentially a grifter and has moved in with the family to initially to con them out of some money,
Yes.
is really dark at
Yes,
times.
Yes. So Sienna Agudong is a brilliant, amazing actress. Remember her name because she'll be around for a long time. And then you have Laura Donzis and Kalama Epstein play mine and Sean's kids. And Nick knocks on our door one day and says, "You didn't pick me up at the train station. You're the closest family I have. My parents died." And basically we let her move in with us. My character is a little cold and doesn't really want her there. But the first episode, she moves in with us, and you figure out that she's got other intentions. She's there to scam us. And every episode kind of peels back these layers of why she's there, what she's doing, how, every episode is fun. The opening titles are really fabulous. It's like a hologram. So it's almost like the family's there, then it sort of turns a little bit, and you see that she's there, and it turns a little bit more, and you see that she's got something in her hand. And every episode, she'll have something in her hand that'll lead you into kind of what's going to happen in this episode.
And the family that she is conning your family with is the great Ted McGinley from Animal House. Ted McGinley, right?
Ted, yes.
Yeah, from Animal House and Married with Children.
Yeah.
And who's the woman that plays...
Molly Hagan plays his wife, who I was a huge fan of in
Yeah.
the movie Some Kind of Wonderful.
That's
But of
right,
course, she
that's
has a
what
huge
she's-
body of work. We have Jonathan Silverman, Charisma Carpenter from Angel. Oh my gosh, we've had French Stewart from Third Rock from the Sun. We've had some amazing guest stars on this. It's been, we have one actor, Jerry Trainers from I said to him the other day on set, I was like, "Now, how does everybody know you?" And he's super famous because he's in iCarly. And I had no idea because my kids are a little younger than that. And so, everybody was like, "Can I get a picture with you? Can I get a picture with you?" And I was like, "Why does everybody want your picture? What have you done, dude?" And he's like, iCarly. So we have this joke about like...
Isn't that the weirdest thing when something has just surpassed you and you've missed it and everybody else is into it?
Well, and everyone was telling me it was so much like Clarissa was, so I probably should have watched it, but I didn't have kids to watch. I've actually never watched television until recently, so I was always working when television was on, so I never really had time. And now with this binge watching thing, I'm suddenly just finished Game of Thrones, very proud of myself.
Oh, so you're all caught up for Sunday.
The whole time I've been doing No Good Nick, I was like, my boyfriend at night was going home watching Game of Thrones because my family is my husband and my kids are they're not in LA with me, so I have to go home and see them on the weekends. But on weekdays, while I was doing No Good Nick, I got to go binge watch Game of Thrones. So I'm like super fan now.
Are you excited for the premiere?
I'm so excited, but I feel like had I been watching it for 7 years, I don't even know, I would be jumping out of my skin, I think.
Well, this is a great time for you to be watching it because you're not at that period where like nobody else is watching. Like everybody else is also catching up or rewatching it.
Yes.
I've had that thing where I rewatch a show that everybody's already watched and I want to talk about it with everyone, and everyone's like, "We've already talked about it,
We're
Ricky.
through this.
We're so
done.
past this."
We've worked, yeah. No, people were like living vicariously through me. Like the girls who do wardrobe on the show at lunch, we'd sit and they'd be like, "What episode have you watched? Have you seen The Red Wedding? Did you?" But then I started watching with my mom. The last season, I was watching the last few episodes with my mom, and she's like, "Oh, this is the episode where Tomlin dies." And I'm like, "Excuse me?" She's like, "He gets pushed out of the window. You saw that." I'm like, "No, I didn't. are you talking about? So she gives it all away. But
When you played, how old were you when you played Clarissa?
I was 13 to 17.
And now, who played the mother on that show?
Janet Darling was played by Elizabeth Hess.
Elizabeth Hess.
Yes.
When you were playing her daughter, when you looked at her, did you ever think that, like, in a couple decades, I'll be playing the mother on a show like this? That will be the trajectory.
Yeah, I don't think I ever expected to be in the business that long.
Really?
You know, I knew from a young age that this is a really fickle business, and I knew that there's a lot of rejection, and that if you're lucky enough to get one job, doesn't mean you're going to get another job. You know, some people on Game of Thrones are like, they're on Game of Thrones, but they may never work again, or, you know, so I always kind of knew that. I was always looking for a secondary career. And I went to college for 7 years here at NYU, and like
for acting, or what did you go to school for?
I got into the acting. I got into the acting program and switched schools. But I don't think that's quite a Varsity Blues thing, right? But I jumped over to Gallatin program there, and I went for 7 years, but I never was able to finish because we started doing Sabrina, and then the dean wouldn't let me have a leave of absence, and so I was doing life equivalency credit and summers abroad and things like that to try to always find another career, but I never quite got enough credits to ever get anything else under my belt.
You were trying so hard to escape your Hollywood career while you were one of the people it was pulling you back.
It was pulling me back, and I was like, well, I guess I got to take this job because who knows if another one's coming, and then they just kept coming.
Yeah.
So
Was there a plan? Did you feel like you wanted longevity with it? A Hollywood career that had longevity?
You know, I think there's a difference between some of the actors that grew up in New York and some of the actors that grew up in L.A. The ones in L.A. had the glamorous stuff, right? They had the red carpets and the parties, and they'd mingle with other celebrities. In New York, it was more you saw people at auditions, and maybe you went to professional children's school like I did for like a year, and you ran into people there that were working. But I think the people in New York especially, but I also think it's a generational thing. We kind of had a more of a, I just want to be a working actor. Not a I want to be rich and famous thing, which like my son says he wants to be an actor now, but he says that, but he also wants to be a biologist or as he calls it, a marine biologist. You know,
or a meme biologist, on Twitter or something.
Yeah. That could be his handle. But you know, he says he wants to be an actor, but I think just because he thinks that it's easy and it gives you lots of money, as opposed to seeing the work that goes into it and the rejection that comes with it and that kind of thing.
Is that something that you still feel at this point in your career, or do you feel like
rejection,
or do you feel like you found as kind of like a place in your career where?
Oh no, like last year this time I was crying to my husband because it was pilot season, which is like when you do, you know, the shows have their one episode that they're going to try, the networks have their one episode and they're going to do one episode and see if it gets picked up for a series. And I was like desperate to find a pilot that would work for me, but everyone said I wasn't ethnic enough was the thing I kept hearing. You're not ethnic, you're too blonde, and then I kept seeing a lot of blonde 40-year-old funny girls going out and getting shows, and I was like, well, if they how come they're not they're not ethnic either? Like, what are you talking about? And so I was
Such a weird excuse or thing to blame, right?
And
like
it was just one of these things, and it was at first I was like, oh, okay, but then when I see other girls that look and act like me getting work, I was like, well, that was an excuse. And so I started kind of grieving my acting career, and then Netflix called and said, hey, we got a show for you. Wow. And I was like, well, that's awesome, because they don't do pilots. We went straight to series, 20 episodes, so it was...
20 episodes right away?
Yeah.
Wow. I'm curious, you know, Clarissa, you did 66, 5 seasons, 66 episodes or something like that, right?
Yeah, because the pilot was one, so 65 others, yeah.
Was that shot like a typical season? Because I know, like, Hey Dude, it was like they shot 2 seasons, that was it, and then that just ran, and because I was a little kid, I thought there were like 150 episodes, but there's only like 20.
No, we did, funny enough, everyone thinks that I did 3 100 plus episode shows, but it was only 66, and we did 13 a year, which most shows do like 26, so we did a half season every time. And so I would be in Orlando doing those for half the year and then come back to New York for school half the year. But we did this show a little different too, because it wasn't, even though it was a sitcom, we didn't have an audience. And an audience show is the kind where, like, you rehearse all week, you shoot a little bit on Thursday, and then on Friday you bring in an audience and you do the whole show live in front of an audience. I didn't do that on Clarissa because I don't know if it was the hours or because we were children, we couldn't work those hours. So we would rehearse for 2 days, shoot for 3, block and shoot with the cameras, as opposed to do the audience show, like almost like a stage play. And Sabrina, we decided to, since my mother and I produced that show, we decided to mimic that same schedule for Sabrina, because we had the cat and the effects and numerous guest stars and whatnot. So we did the same thing, 2 days rehearsal, 3 days shooting. And then it wasn't until Melissa and Joey, my last show, that just ended about 3 or 4 years ago, that I did my own live show. And now with No Good Nick, we kind of do both. We do a little bit of both. We do some episodes in front of an audience and some we don't do in front of an audience.
How did that happen where you were able to do both? Was that something that they knew your experience, or did it just end up being that way?
For what? For No Good Nick? Well, we started off with an audience because Netflix likes that, they wanted it to feel like a traditional sitcom. But as we went on and we realized it's not a traditional sitcom and the audience gets a little uncomfortable. So most shows like that, like Friends or Big Bang Theory or some of these shows that do an audience show, back to the Lucille Ball days, it's like set up, joke. So everything would be like, you set up a joke, and then big payoff, big laugh, applause sign, whatever. With this show, the audience gets really uncomfortable. It seems like set up, nothing comes, no joke, no big joke, maybe a little joke, maybe someone gets punched, maybe someone gets arrested, different things are happening. And the audience, you'd have that one audience member be like, ha, 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 no? Is this fun? This isn't funny? And so it was very awkward. And so I think that we've realized that we need to pull it back a little bit from some of the, so I don't think we're doing as many audience shows now.
Right. In the episode that I saw, there's scenes where she is yelling at the people that she's used, that are her co-conspirators, and there's really no laughs there at all. She's kind of
very
vicious.
Tough. I mean, she seems like this sweet, innocent. And the thing is about the show, it's really interesting because she is such an anti-hero. She is so the girl you want to root for, but she's doing terrible things. So if you're watching this with like your teenagers, there's a lesson to be learned there about like, we want to root for her because she seems to be doing it for a good reason, but at the same time, she's doing terrible things to this family. So she's being really, manipulative and conniving and just doing these horrible things. But yet you kind of root for her. So people have been kind of relating it to, if you took like This Is Us, made it a little bit more about the teenage kids when they were younger, and added scandal to it. So, it's got those flavors.
I'm curious, you've been, as I said in the intro, you've been doing family TV or versions of family TV since the beginning of your career, since you were 13 years old. Now, I remember when Full House ended for the first time, like Bob Saget went out and did his first stand-up.
Oh,
and
I've
he
seen
just
him do stand-up.
And he just cursed, and he
It's
even
raunchy.
said... Yeah, he even said, like, I've been bottled up for so long, I have to get this out. Is there a part of you that is raunchy or that is R-rated that you've just been bottling up for so long that you want to get out?
I mean, look, I was raised on Long Island, spent my teen years in the city, been raised on sets. So I have a mouth like a sailor.
Also, all family TV
pirate.
sets. So, when they call cut on Clarissa,
there's
like,
bloopers
God
of me, and someone recently released some bloopers of me cursing my brains out as a teenager. But it's one of my vices. Cursing is one of my vices. But I think the character I probably relate to the most was probably Clarissa, because I feel like I was sort of like her growing up in New York City in the 90s, wearing a lot of leather and men's cologne. I don't know. I feel like I was always a little bit tougher than people thought I was. Especially when I started playing Sabrina, she was very much the girl next door. And while my mother and I started our company, Heartbreak Films, with Sabrina to bring families back together, because this is a time when Sabrina started in '96, people were starting to get their own televisions in their own bedrooms. Mm-hmm. Before that, there was one TV in the living room and the family watched it together. And there was family programming.
3 networks.
Yeah, that's when The Cosby Show was on, or that's when, you watch, or maybe Nick at Night, or, but there was only 3 networks, yeah. And if you didn't watch Cosby Show on Thursday night, you didn't know what to talk about with your friends on Friday. But, then at this time, people are starting to get their TVs in their bedrooms, and everyone in the family's watching something different. Cable's now come around and whatnot. Clarissa was one of the first cable sitcoms. And, it was about the time when Sabrina came out, we were like, let's put something back on the air that parents will sit down and watch with their kids. And that's what I feel like this show is really doing right now. No Good Nick is very much about sit down with your family and watch the show, because this is something everyone can enjoy. There's stuff for everyone layered in there. And, I'm really interested. I can't wait for people to see it finally and be able to kind of give us feedback on what they like and what they don't like.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we have some time for questions. We have one coming in from Twitter. Let's pull that up. The question is, Melissa and Sean Astin are amazing role models for me and my castmates. They are not just talented, generous actors. They are incredible people who lead with love and humility. I love the No Good Nick family.
This is Lauren Gonzis. This is my daughter who plays Molly. She sent this text in. So
not a question, really, just a really sweet thing that was said.
She just wrote that. That's so cute. Thank you, Lauren. We've become such a family, and I think that's one of the things that when people watch a show, I think a lot of what they're drawn to is the chemistry between the cast. And if we can create good chemistry, then I think it draws other people in, and they see us having a good time, they want to be a part of that. And I think we've been able to create that. This is our Thompson family. We're called the Thompsons. And that includes Sienna's character. We kind of say we're the Thompson family. So we go out for dinners once in a while. Me and Sean will get the kids' parents' approval, and we take them, although she's a vegetarian or a vegan, so it's very difficult to take her anywhere. And he's super picky. He won't even eat fish, and he's from Hawaii, which I think is just wrong. But we all go out to dinner together, and we do stuff together. And
Had you worked with Sean before?
I hadn't. It was so funny. We actually, the first thing we both said to each other was, how have we never worked together? And we even said, how have we never met? And then my sister sent us a picture of us together a few months after that, and we were like, wow, we're idiots. We don't even remember meeting. But we raced cars together in a Long Beach Grand Prix. So.
Really?
But we'd never worked together, and we are having such fun. Like, when we wrap next week, I am gonna miss him truly. Like,
Oh, so you guys are still in the process of shooting the first
We're
season?
still
right now?
shooting,
You have,
yes.
what, 2 episodes left if you're wrapping next
we
week?
have
or-
one left. Yeah,
One left.
One left.
Oh, wow. That's exciting.
It is exciting. It's a fun one too. I wish I could tell you guys anything, but I can't because there's too many spoilers on this show.
Yeah, it's like one of the few sitcoms that I've ever seen like that has actual spoilers.
We can't. Yeah, I literally can't tell you guys anything. I need you to see like the first 3 at least before I ruin anything.
Yeah. I think we have one question in the audience. What do we have here? Who has right here, sir?
Yeah, all right. So first off, I just have to say, oh my God, my childhood. You and Amy Jo Johnson were like my 2 crushes as a kid.
I think we dated the same guy too.
I really mean that. Just
Believe you.
Just really awesome
Thank
to
you.
finally meet you and tell you that. But second, I just have to ask, what was your one of your favorite special effects, or one of your favorite effects on Sabrina?
You know, it's funny. I've been thinking a lot recently about this one where, who was the actor? It was like, I think it was like a rapper that became an actor. We were doing this fight scene in the ceiling, like it became like a Matrix fight scene. He and I think he was like playing some sort of vampire, and I had to it was like a Buffy episode, and I had to kill him, but we had to fly through the air on these. Yeah, I was always hooked up to harnesses, and they're super uncomfortable. I'm really reading Sally Field's book right now called In Pieces, and she talks all about the flying nun and how she had to wear that contraption. It hasn't progressed any in the decades, but it was super uncomfortable. But I wanted to do the stunts. I had wanted to do all this Matrix fighting, and my mom, being the producer, saw the wires and saw my cables getting tangled up with the wires, and she's like, get her down, put the stunt double up, I don't want her up there, get her down. I'm like, I'm doing my own stunts, and she's like, no, you're not, go to your trailer. And I'm like, and we get in this huge fight, and the crew's like, awkward, mother daughter or producer actor, like, what are we doing here?
Did that happen often on the set?
Very rarely, but one time she did go to bat for me. One of the directors wanted me to kiss a real frog. There's a scene in a car, and it's Harvey, I think Harvey turns into a frog, and I have to kiss him, but they wanted me to kiss a real frog, and props had made me a fake decent looking frog that I would kiss, so I didn't have to, because I was like, guys, I'm not kissing a frog. So they made me like a fake frog, but then the director's like, it doesn't look real, you gotta kiss a real frog. And I was like, I'm not doing that. I'm not even touching that thing. Are you kidding me? It's slimy, how am I gonna hold on to it, then I gotta kiss it? Are you insane? So my mom went to bat for me on that one. She's like, she's not kissing that frog, we got a plastic one for her, it's fine. And so it came big fight. But funny fact, the guy who did the special effects on Sabrina does the special effects on Game of Thrones. So he has a front card title, like producer of effects or something, Steve Kolbach. So if you find him, he cut his teeth on
wild.
Sabrina. Yeah.
Wow, what a jump.
And what a progression in special effects in just a few decades.
Melissa, congratulations on the show.
Thank you.
It premieres next Friday, right?
Yeah,
on Netflix.
Monday.
Oh, Monday. Excuse
the
me,
April
15th.
Yes.
On
so you can
Netflix.
watch Game of Thrones the night before, and then binge No Good Nick all week.
And is it going to be? Yeah, is it going to be released all in one?
The first
drop?
10 will be released
The first 10.
on April 15th. We don't know about the next 10. So.
Amazing. April 15th, Netflix.
Yeah.
No Good Nick. Melissa Joan Hart, everybody. Let's hear it.
Thank you.